I literally swear to you, I'm not trying to be dramatic here, but Kenya has a Somali problem. Ever since the fall of Siad Barre in the early 90s, the Kenya-Somalia border has been very, very porous, very volatile, and very insecure. There has been a steady influx of Somali refugees crossing the border from Somalia into Kenya. Now, I want to make a clear distinction between Somalis from Ethiopia, from Somalia, and Kenyan Somalis. Kenyan Somalis are citizens of Kenya. They have been for as long as we have been alive. So you must make that distinction. Ethiopian Somalis are aliens. They are not Kenyans. As such, when they come to the country, they have to follow a certain documentation procedure in order to be able to live in the country. This procedure has for a very long time not followed or misused or disrespected. While it is okay for any country to accept refugees from another country, there is a difference between refugees and illegal aliens. In Kakuma and Dadaab camps, there is a total population of over 300,000 Somalis from Somalia being housed by Kenya as part of its refugee program, which is okay. Now the Somali problem we have in this country has to do with Somalis illegally crossing the border from Somalia into Kenya, acquiring documentation that show them to be Kenyan citizens, and then moving into the interior of the country and becoming part and parcel of the country. Now, the border issue is a massive problem across the world. A lot of countries have to deal with this, and we have been dealing with this for a very long time, but not necessarily in the right ways. Now, when you create systems that are so porous and so corrupt that an alien, someone from another country, can actually come in and bribe to cross the border, because as you heard me say in another video, Kenya is for sale to the highest bidder. Money goes a long way, and doesn't have to be much either in this country. Anyway, I digress. But we have created a system where it is possible for illegals to enter through the northern corridor, or rather the northeastern corridor, into the country, acquire documentation, or run business in this country, travel outside this country by acquiring passports using the IDs that they have acquired illegally, then we have a problem. Now, yes, the Constitution allows for procedures for foreigners to become Kenyan citizens, for refugees to become Kenyan citizens. But when you have laws that just exist on paper, then you have a big problem. When refugees are being let into a country, or migrants are being let into a country, we have actually a vetting process that needs to be followed. This process is not followed at this point. So the importance of these processes is that they enable you to filter to choose between who is good for the country, who is bad for the country. There are criminals crossing the border with nefarious intentions. We have actually had terrorist attacks in Kenya propagated, perpetuated by people of this origin. So really, at the border, we don't know who we are admitting. Where the Dusit attack, you had the Westgate Mall attack, you had the Garissa University attack, whereby over 140 university students were killed by people crossing the border. There have been small attacks in a Nairobi suburb called Eastleigh. There was an attack in was it Muthura, like a few years ago. But you get my point. My point is that if you have illegals coming to the country, not being vetted, finding loopholes, being aided and abetted by people within the country, finding their way into the country, and living amongst us when we do not know their intentions, then that's a national security issue. Now, this issue, the Somali problem, the illegal Somalis from Somalia coming into this country, is an issue that has been very divisive. When you raise this issue on social media, Kenyan Somalis will fight you and say that you are being tribal against them. But the problem is that we are not talking about Kenyan Somalis. We are talking about Somalis from Ethiopia crossing the border, acquiring documents, becoming Kenyan citizens, living amongst us with us not knowing their intentions. I think it is fair to question the process by which these people come into our country and how they become accommodated. What networks are they following? How do they find themselves in the midst of our people? And how do we defend ourselves if we do not know that we have Trojan horses amongst us? This, as I said, is a very, very divisive subject.